stepping in as
spectacular,
well.
over the top. I mean, that was a full force shot to the temple. I mean, he's right now. So they wipe off his gloves, but you look at him like he's really feeling it right now. I mean, he probably has no idea where he is.
Time when I'm going to take your soul and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter.
It's likely that one big shot's going to land if the guy's not throwing other shots. So I thought with less artillery in the air, less bombs in the air, that the guy would have a chance to get to later round.
Joe Rogan couldn't hide his laughter as he reacted to Jake Paul's knockout loss, sitting alongside former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. Rogan described the bout as a complete mismatch from the very beginning, pointing out that Jake Paul is accustomed to facing retired boxers or MMA fighters, not a true, battle-tested Olympic gold medalist. He emphasized that Joshua operates on an entirely different level, both in skill and physical dominance, towering far above Jake's natural weight class. From any serious boxing standpoint, Rogan explained, the result was inevitable long before the opening bell, and the knockout only confirmed what most experts already knew.
Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the head.
After the fight, Anthony Joshua delivered a blunt post-fight statement, claiming the knockout may have actually saved Jake Paul. Joshua explained that if the bout had gone on any longer, he would have systematically broken Jake down both mentally and physically. According to Joshua, the early stoppage spared Jake from taking far more punishment and suffering serious damage inside the ring.
Fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you is that, Jake, what's going to happen? I'm going to see a time when I'm going to take your soul and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct...
The idea of Anthony Joshua being linked to a so-called circus fight against Jake Paul has instantly divided the boxing world. Many view it as pure spectacle rather than a legitimate sporting contest, with a massive gap in size, experience, and pedigree impossible to overlook. Joshua is a two-time heavyweight world champion and an Olympic gold medalist, while Jake Paul is still developing as a boxer. To most critics, the matchup feels engineered for views and headlines rather than competition, which is why it's widely dismissed as entertainment instead of a real fight. Following Joshua's brutal knockout that left Jake with a broken jaw, Simon Jordan reacted strongly, saying the entire event was damaging to boxing's credibility.
Boxing industry, because straight after the fight, I heard the question being posed to Joshua, will he now fight Fury? And then my first thought was, after what I've seen, who cares? After that, who cares if Joshua fights Fury? I like Anthony Joshua immensely, Spencer. Any exchanges I've had with him, I think he comes across terrifically well. But I fail to see where it's taken us, where it's taken him, other than hugely increasing his bank balance. You know, I really fail to see what this has done.
Well, it's done nothing, but he was going to fight in November, like I said, and he's just gone in there against Jake Paul. What has it done for his legacy? Absolutely zero. But it was, he's earned a lot of money doing that. And he's going to go again and he's going to fight possibly February, March. And then there's that Tyson Fury fight that's looming that could happen in September, whether Tyson Fury decides to come out of retirement or not come out of retirement. For Anthony Joshua, he's earned a hell of a lot of money. This is prize fighting, and that's what it's all about. And that's what he's done.
He argues that fights like these blur the boundary between genuine sport and manufactured spectacle, pulling attention away from real, meaningful competition. Jordan stresses that Anthony Joshua has already secured generational wealth and a lasting legacy, leaving no need for novelty matchups. Even if a long-awaited clash with Tyson Fury never materializes, Jordan believes Joshua's financial security makes stepping away from the sport a realistic and unsurprising option.
Earning more than Joshua. That apart, Spencer, 6 rounds to get Paul out of there. Reputationally, how does it leave AJ?
Well, thankfully, it didn't go to points because I think that would have been a disaster for Anthony Joshua. I think that he needed to get the job done inside the distance, and he done it. Look, he could have done it at any given point. I think that he could have cut the ring off whenever he wanted to and got Jake Paul out of there. He took his time on that. He allowed Jake Paul to run around like a rabbit and throw the occasional shot from time to time. And I think he only landed one clean punch, didn't he, Anthony Joshua? And that was the one that broke his jaw in 2 places.
But, I mean, you said, did you not, to us in this very studio the other day, he's got to get him out of there in round 1.
I did.
Otherwise, what are we seeing?
Exactly that. And I think what we saw there was a little bit of entertainment. And that was pretty much it. But not entertainment that many people enjoyed, if I'm honest. I think that people wanted to see a demolition.
Joe Rogan heaped praise on Anthony Joshua, highlighting his rare combination of speed, athleticism, and crushing power. Rogan noted that Joshua moves with the fluidity of a much lighter fighter while still possessing fight-ending, one-punch knockout ability. He described Joshua as a nightmare matchup, capable of closing distance in an instant and shutting down exchanges before opponents can react. According to Rogan, these qualities make it completely unrealistic for crossover fighters to compete with Joshua at any serious boxing level.
Good boxer, but this is a giant Olympic gold medalist heavyweight. I mean, Anthony Joshua is fucking
Here's the
terrifying.
thing that nightmares are made of.
And he's got that one-punch nuclear power. One punch.
Adam Booth offered a brutally honest breakdown, noting that Jake Paul did manage to make Anthony Joshua miss at certain moments, something he considers significant. Booth explained that Jake's movement, positioning, and discipline showed clear improvement, forcing Joshua to reset rather than land at will. While he made it clear this didn't mean Jake was ever winning the fight, Booth acknowledged that creating even brief hesitation against an elite heavyweight is meaningful and reflects real progress in Jake's development. Continuing his analysis, Booth emphasized that making a fighter like Joshua miss isn't accidental. It requires preparation, timing, and confidence. He credited Jake's footwork and composure under pressure, but stressed that these moments didn't change the overall reality of the contest. Once Joshua found his opening, his superior class, power, and experience took control and ultimately decided the outcome.
Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul shared a ring. Your takeaways from the 6 rounds that we saw, presuming you watched?
I was impressed with Jake Paul. I thought that, following on from what we're saying, right? A few years ago, he was on Disney as a kid, acting up, and has decided to become a professional fighter. That takes balls, but he's obviously striving to be as good as he can be. You can see that in the way that he moves, the way that he is developed in how he's punching and performing. But to make a 2-time world heavyweight champion that's still live, AJ's still got something about him, to make him miss in such an accomplished manner. All right, so at times he was jumping out and running around, but there were times when he was well in range and still making AJ unable to land a clean, solid shot. He deserves a lot of respect for that. And then the shot that actually finished the fight, that broke his jaw quite badly, didn't put him out. That shot he threw with serious intention has put a lot of professional heavyweights to sleep. He didn't go to sleep. He actually finished on his knees, didn't he? Laughing and spitting blood out of his mouth. So, like they say, it's a special type of crazy and a special type of brave to do it. But I actually, hats off to him, because he showed that he's developing some accomplished little skills in there to look after himself. The size difference is always going to fatigue him.
I know everyone will come with the idea that, AJ should just go in there 1 round and smash him to bits, and that should be it. It was a big ring, right? Perhaps he could have cut the ring off a bit better, but would I be right in saying that regardless of skill level, if you forget about that with the 2 for a second, if someone is on the back foot and on their bike and doing what Jake was doing, it's difficult no matter who you are, no matter the kind of separation in skill level.
It's a big ring, and you've either got to run at him and look like a novice yourself, or just take your time and understand.
In the aftermath, attention briefly shifted to Logan Paul, who appeared to confront and intimidate Anthony Joshua while speaking about revenge for his brother. Logan reportedly expressed interest in fighting Joshua, but analysts were quick to dismiss the idea as an even greater mismatch than Jake's bout. They pointed out that Jake trains full-time under professional boxing coaches, while Logan lacks the same level of commitment, refinement, and technical development. As a result, a Logan Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight would be overwhelmingly one-sided. Further discussion reinforced the view that Logan pursuing Joshua would move beyond spectacle and into outright farce. Analysts noted that despite his loss, Jake at least demonstrated a basic level of legitimacy within professional boxing. Logan, by comparison, is seen as far less polished and far less serious. The consensus is clear: such a fight would offer no competitive value and would only fuel growing criticism about the direction modern boxing is taking.
Would be more of a mismatch than Jake Paul.
You know what I mean? Because at least Jake Paul has taken boxing or has trained with real boxing trainers and real boxers. Whereas Logan Paul, you know, he did that exhibition with Floyd, and Floyd's a little guy. Not saying a little guy can't thump, because Floyd really gave him some two pieces with no sides, right? But at the same time, you take his friend, Floyd's friend, Anthony Joshua, and get hit by him and see what happens. The same thing. Probably worse, because I think Logan, you know, he's a little taller than Jake. And because he's a little taller than Jake, he may think he's a little stronger than Jake. Which I don't know which one's true or not. I don't think it makes a difference. But because he may feel that way, he may want to go in there and try to bang it out with AJ. And if that happens, it's going to be a lot quicker. See, that 6 rounds it took AJ to finally catch Jake. It took that way because Jake was on that bicycle, moving, being elusive, trying to come in and then come out. He tried to do a very poor man's Alexander Usyk, right? And it didn't work for him. Logan ain't going to do that. Logan's going to come in throwing punches and bunches like he did with Floyd, trying to get him in there and, you know, do all this stuff. And what's going to happen as soon as AJ lines him up, sets his punch, he's going to hit Jake and he's going to break Jake down.
Sugestion O'Malley analyzed the aftermath of the fight by focusing on Jake Paul's mindset going into the bout. He explained that the confidence and trash talk Jake displayed beforehand were widely misunderstood by critics. According to Mali, Jake needed that belief and self-talk to mentally prepare himself for stepping into the ring with a 2-time Olympic champion. He emphasized that confidence is essential when facing overwhelming odds, even when the outcome doesn't go your way. Mali added that without that mental edge, Jake may not have been able to perform at all under such intense pressure. He argued that much of the criticism overlooks how extraordinarily difficult it is to share the ring with a fighter of Anthony Joshua's caliber. While the loss was decisive, Mali believes Jake's approach reflected respect for the challenge and highlighted the immense psychological demands of competing against an elite heavyweight.
Got in the ring.
Jake was shooting double legs, too.
Shooting double legs, nice
Duck
ones
unders.
with ankle picks, duck unders. But dude, God, people, I see so much people talking shit on the fight, which, dude, what the fuck did they expect? Like, Jake was hyping himself up, saying he's going to win. Dude, that's self-belief. He needed that to go in. He needed that to get himself into the ring. You know what I'm saying? He just needed that.
What do you think about the sticking that tongue out?
Dude, he's a showman. This is a fucking YouTuber that switched to pro boxing.
Yep.
And he's fighting Anthony fucking Joshua. He made $90 million. $7.5 million per minute. Nate Diaz says, that boy don't work hard enough. This girl in the UFC said, Jake Paul shot more double legs in boxing match than I did in my UFC career. Ryan Garcia said, he's a runner, he's a track star. Aljamain said, this is a clown show. Josh Hammond said, dude, it's like, what did they expect? They expect him to go in there and look like a clean fucking Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao. Two of the, you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck?
You see the aftermath, like his jaw and everything? Fuck.
Jake Paul's broken jaw. Jake has to get wired shut for 7 days or something like that.
Yeah, like
Tim
titanium
had to do
plates.
7 weeks.
Yeah, Tim says that was the worst thing he's ever gone through.
7 weeks. Tim broke his jaw in Montana. Tried to go to the hospital. Hospital said the surgeon's out of town. So now he has to. So he's fucking goes like a week without even getting surgery. At least Jake was able to probably get it like next day, that same day. But it's like all the people hating on Jake. It's crazy. Connor said Jake is stupid and will be altered permanently from this bout. I look at it. It's inspiring seeing what he does because I know how much like he's putting in work. He's doing legitimate fight camps. He's doing sparring. He's doing rounds. He's eating. He's doing everything.
Teddy Atlas explained that his prediction of the fight lasting several rounds was grounded in real boxing factors, not any idea of it being fixed or staged. He pointed to Anthony Joshua's long layoff, the knockout loss in his previous fight, and the natural mental hesitation that often follows such setbacks. According to Atlas, those psychological ghosts take time to clear, especially for a fighter who isn't known as a fast starter. He also highlighted the larger ring size, which gave Jake Paul more space to move and survive the early rounds. Atlas added that Jake entered the fight with a legitimate game plan built around movement and endurance. However, once the pressure increased, the environment became overwhelming. Jake reached a level of mental and physical intensity he had never experienced before. Atlas explained that the combination of Joshua's relentless pressure, Jake's muscular build leading to quicker fatigue, and the demands of elite-level competition caused Jake to gas out. He firmly concluded that the fight was real and decided by genuine boxing realities.
It was going to go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was going to be a silent agreement. I wasn't sure there was going to be a sparring match agreement that we'll spar for a while. I wasn't sure. I was honest about it. That's why he said it's going to go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was an understanding that, we'll play a little bit and then we'll get a little more and, whatever. So that was part of it. But there was real parts. Say, that's the fixed part. That's the WWE part. That's where the people, and I'm with you. I get it if you want to think that. Here's why I picked rounds, and this is what I think I saw, and I know that in my mind I saw, was the factors that a lot of people didn't think about. 15 months off. And there was going to be some rust. There was going to be some hesitation. There was going to be some time. He got knocked out by Dubois freaking 15 months ago. There were going to be ghosts in the attic. I don't care who you're fighting. You get in the ring again. It's going to take a minute to exercise those ghosts. The rust, you want to call it rust, whatever. It's going to take 5-6 rounds to get rid of the rust. But it's going to, the doubt, the self-doubt, the being in the ring for the first time with nothing in between after being knocked out. That was going to be a play. And then the size of the ring, 22 by 20. It's usually 20 is pretty usually around average. And it's 22 by 20. More room to elude, more room to move around, right? I thought maybe go in there with track shoes.
Chris Algieri and Paulie Malignaggi delivered a harsh but honest assessment of the fight, focusing on how badly it ended for Jake Paul. They pointed out that Jake suffered serious damage, including a jaw broken in 2 places and lost teeth, yet still failed to earn respect from much of the boxing community. Algieri argued that fans weren't entertained because Jake never truly committed to fighting. In his view, Jake would have been better off going out aggressively, even if it meant getting knocked out earlier. Algieri compared it to the Ngannou fight, emphasizing that fighters earn respect when they genuinely try to win. Malignaggi expanded on this criticism by explaining that Jake's hit-and-run approach was never sustainable. He said constant movement drains the legs and only delays the inevitable, especially in a large ring. Paulie added that Jake simply lacks the boxing skill to move and box effectively at the same time. As a novice, he explained, a fighter can either engage and fight hard or try to survive by running, but cannot successfully combine both. Jake chose survival, and both analysts agreed that this decision damaged his standing with boxing fans far more than an early knockout ever would have.
Yeah, an Ngannou type fight. Yeah, Ngannou, he's got balls. Ngannou's got balls, man. He went out there and he tried to fight, he tried to win. Jake Paul didn't try to win at any point during the fight. He was just trying to survive. And I think that's actually ultimately going to hurt him with boxing fans.
Yeah, what do you think, Paulie? I mean, you talked about the in and out kind of style, kind of hits and runs, and you said that A, it runs out your legs. He was exhausted a couple rounds into the fight, and B, it only saved him for so long.
He doesn't have the boxing skills to box on the move anyway. Once I saw the big ring, I knew he was going to run for his life. When you're that much of a novice, which obviously it's not even an insult to him, it's just lack of experience. But when you're that much of a novice, you either know how to run for your life or fight all out. You don't have that in between yet. You haven't developed enough of that in between boxing acumen to really pull that off. And so what ends up happening? You're either going to fight your ass off and you'll last a minute. Chris, you're being generous. Round 2, he would have got knocked out in round 1 if he would have fought. But at least he would have fought. He would have got the respect of the people and more importantly, the boxing community instead of these clowns that follow him and are still defending him. Now what happens is you didn't get any respect as a fighter. You didn't get any respect as a fighter because you didn't try to fight at all. If he would have, I was watching that through 2-3 rounds. I'm thinking to myself, this guy would do this for 8 rounds if he can. If he can do this for 8 rounds, absolutely not fight at all, absolutely not engage a single time in 8 rounds, he will actually do this. And he'll do it shamelessly. And that's the problem. That's the problem. The shamelessness of his approach to the fight. You're going to be a fighter. Then don't make an ass out of the whole sport, out of the whole business, and out of yourself first and foremost. Because in the end, what happens? You got his jaw broke anyway. So what ends up happening? What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to get hurt. You're going to get knocked out. You got hurt and you got knocked out anyway. But you just prolonged the inevitable, and you got no respect out of it now. Because nobody's respecting that kind of performance. Nobody's respecting a performance where you were totally content to steal money from everyone.
That wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more boxing content. Until next time.